Okay, well, good morning. Are there any questions before we start? Okay, well, let me start a new topic today as kind of jumping from the first 1/3 of the class to the next 1/3. So essentially, we have been talking about FIR digital filters. These are so-called feed forward, that means there is no feedback. So we want to start talking about the limitations of speed in feedback systems. So anytime there is feedback, such as in IIR digital filters, there is a fundamental lower bound with respect to how fast we can sample these systems. And we are interested in learning the methods of relaxing those bounds so the sampling speed can be increased using pipelining. So before we talk about pipelining in recursive computations, it may be a good idea to understand what pipelining is and why that's not a barrier in feed-forward systems like FIR filters. So with that, let's just continue and learn some of these ideas. So I'm going to talk about, in particular, 4 different ideas. So one is the so-called iteration bound. We are going to learn about what is pipelining and what is retiming, and finally what is slowdown or interleaving. Okay, so these are kind of 4 different technical topics that we will talk about before really jumping into the main topics of recursive digital filters. Okay, so how many of you are familiar with what pipelining is? Some of you, very good. Okay, so what exactly is iteration bound? So let me define iteration bound as the fundamental bound on the lower bound. It's the lower bound on clock period of a system. So we define that as the iteration period bound T infinity as the maximum for all loops L loop bound. Bound, okay. So over all possible loops, we take the maximum. And what is a loop bound? I can say that's max over L, TL, where the L is the loop bound. So loop bound TL is equal to the loop computation time divided by number of loop delays. Okay, so we won't go into a lot of detail on all these topics. We'll just try to briefly understand what these mean. The other class talks more about these things that I hope that we will teach next semester. So we will get into more technical details, but for purpose of this class, we will just review some concepts. So the what is a loop bound? That's kind of a lower bound on the time to compute that loop. That's the loop bound. So for example, if I have a computation such that I have, let's say, a node A. Well, let's just take some simple examples. So let's say that I have a filter fifth order IIR digital filter. Okay, so let's just say this simple example. So let's say this is fifth order. So if I call this A and B, then the transfer function is going to be 1 over 1 minus A z to power minus 2 minus B z to power minus 5. So the so-called inner loop. So the inner loop has 2 delays. The outer loop has 5 delays. So if I identify them as loop number 1, L1 let's say, and the outer loop as loop 2, then TL1 is going to be 1 multiply plus 2 add time divided by, so that's the loop computation time. So loop bound is loop computation time divided by loop delays. So that's the loop computation time divided by the number of delays in that loop is 2, whereas TL2, the loop bound of the outer loop, is going to be same. The total loop computation time is still 1 multiply 2 adds, but the number of delays in that loop, total delays, if you traverse, go around, come back, is 2 plus 3, 5 delays. So that's by 5. And definitely the numerator is same, the denominator is bigger in TL2, that means this quantity is going to be less than TL1. Okay, so that means the iteration period bound or the iteration bound is going to be maximum of TL1 and TL2, which is going to be TL1. Okay, so that TL1 then is called the critical loop. L1 is called the critical loop. So the inner loop is the critical loop. That means it has no slack. If I were to operate the system with this clock period, the loop L1 has no slack available, whereas loop L2 has more slack available to us. Okay, so I have some extra time to compute loop 2 if necessary. Okay, so my intent is not really to go into a lot of detail, but it is sufficient to understand that if we have feedback systems, there is a fundamental bound on how fast we can operate those computations. That has nothing to do with if you have 10 million computers or 2 computers. This is a bound fundamental to the algorithm and not to the computer resource available to us. Okay, so let's then talk about why is it that in FIR filters, why is there no bound here? Well, there is no feedback loop, so there is no real fundamental bound. So let's talk about what is pipelining, and this is a very old concept that emerged with assembly pipeline, where for example in car manufacturing assembly pipeline there were different machines, different cars being manufactured at different locations. So for example, if I have an assembly pipeline, let's say there are people working at different locations. So let's say let's call this 1, 2, 3, 4. So for example, 4 different parts in the assembly. So the cars are flowing from 1, then to 2, then to 3, and then to 4, and then finally the car is done, let's say. So the manufacturing begins and the manufacturing ends. Let's say that this operation takes 2 hours, more, let's say 20 minutes for example. This takes 30 minutes, this takes 10 minutes, and this takes 1 hour as an example. Okay. So if we begin a car here, then after 2 hours the car is done. So, okay, but what is, so as you will see that this is an unequal pipeline, so because this person is done very quickly, whereas this person has to take the longest amount of time. So if you think about the bottleneck in this pipeline is this person, because that assembly process takes the longest possible time. So let's just say that in this, I've chosen this example to be unequal, so to give you an example why somebody may be slowing down others. But let's say that, so essentially let's say the car number, let's say 10 begins here, okay. So because the slow time is 1 hour, so this is, let's say 9 a.m. So 9 a.m. car number 10 begins at assembly terminal 1, okay. So at 10 a.m. this person can begin car number 11, and while that begins then assembly 2, so car number 10 could be processed, and this would be car number 9 here. So car number 2 could be processed in 10 o'clock. At 11 a.m. then this thing can move to the third stage of the assembly pipeline, and then that could be finally completed at 12 noon. The last stage of the assembly can complete car 10. So car 10 is now going to be out after 1 o'clock. So it takes 1 hour. So 1 p.m. The car 10 is out. So car 10 is out at 1 p.m. So we started the car at 9 a.m. and it completed at 1 p.m. So there is a 4-hour delay. 4-hour delay. Okay, I mean that's because I've slowed down everything. So this, for example, this assembly unit finished in 20 minutes, but has to stall, what you would call null operations, no operations, but has to stall. I mean, has to really wait, because that's kind of the this is the bottleneck. So that's 1 hour. Now, if it so happens that I can somehow equalize all these to be, let's assume that these were all 20 minutes each. So no stage of the assembly is a bottleneck, all stages take same amount of time. So think about in the previous concept that I was talking about, the inner looping, the critical loop. So in this case, so I have slack in this particular case, this stage has a slack of 40 minutes, because think about the notion of clock period is 1 hour. In this case, clock period is, think about that bound. So this unit, this machine can be stalled for half an hour, this can be stalled, or a slack of 50 minutes, and this has no slack. That's the critical stage. Okay, so and then the process can keep moving. So the assembly can be busy all the time. Okay, so that's that can keep moving. Okay, so now every 1 hour I get a new car. A new car goes out of the assembly. So the idea then is this whole process of overlapped processing. So for example, here car 9 would have moved here, and then car number 8 would have been here. So if you look at this 10 o'clock hour, for example, and there are 4 different cars operating at same time, 4 different cars being manufactured at same time, while we are completing the last part on car number 8, the third part is being completed on car number 9, second part is operated on car number 10, and car number 1 is just beginning its first part. So there are 4 different cars at the pipeline. When the pipeline is busy, so there is an initial skew, but once that skew is filled up, 4 different cars are being operated at same time, although through different stages. So we take the same idea, and let's say that we have a digital filter. So let's say I have a let's say I have a transpose form FIR filter. So A times xn, this is xn, plus B times xn minus 1, plus C times xn minus 2, plus D times xn minus 3. So yn is A times xn plus B times xn minus 1 plus C times xn minus 2 plus D times xn minus 3. So this is a 4-tap FIR digital filter. And let's say that as an example, the multiplication operation takes 20 time units, and the add operation takes let's say 5 time units of time, whatever that is. Okay. So, so what is the critical path in this particular filter? So what is the speed at which we could sample xn? So critical path, which is a lower bound on clock period, is the time to compute a path that does not contain a delay element. Okay, why is that? Well, it so happens that as whenever there is a delay, we break the critical path. So that means whatever computation is here moves to the output of the flip-flop in the next clock cycle. Okay, so so for example here this critical path is going to be multiply add. So I can clock, so the clock period t will be greater than or equal to 25 units of time, which is the same as the critical path. Critical path is t multiply plus t add. So t multiply plus t add is 25 units of time. So that means I can clock this FIR digital filter at any time unit more than 25 or equal to 25, and typically we may have some slack for clock setup and hold times, but ignoring that and ignoring the time for the flip-flops, let's say the lower bound is 25 units of time. Okay. So now let's say that I want to use the same concept of pipelining to reduce the critical path in the FIR digital filter so that we can increase the sampling speed. Okay. So, so if I want to think about the same filter, so as you can see here that this is taking, so first of all I can do what I can do, I can introduce one stage of pipeline here. So this is called a cut set, and we will talk little more about that. So place a delay element here at these locations of the cut set. So if I place a delay element here, so let's just say that I placed a delay here, a delay here, a delay here, and a delay here. So if I place one delay element at these locations where the so-called marked cut set, first of all, what is a cut set? A cut set here contains these 4 edges. By definition, if I cut these 4 edges, then the whole connected graph is cut into 2 disconnected components. If I cut the wire here, here, this top part is one part, this bottom is another part. These are disconnected components. So a cut set is a set of edges which when cut takes a connected graph and leads to 2 disconnected graphs. Okay. So, what is the, if I do place delays at these cut set locations, what is the critical path now? We have brought it down from 25 to what? Volunteers, anyone? Okay, you go ahead. What is the critical path if I place delay elements at these locations? Okay, how about, yeah, Bozi?
I don't know, 20?
Yes. Well, yes. So, we break the path. We break the critical path by placing delays. So, remember I said that the critical path or any path, I mean its critical path is the path, okay, I should say, yeah, so any path, so critical path is the path with the longest computation time. So, critical path is the path with the longest computation time. So, in this case we have really two paths. So, this multiplies one path, that is one path. I can't continue because the delay breaks that path, and the add is another part. So, if I take the max of 20 and 5, which is 20, so that is the critical path. So, that means I can sample this signal xn with period 20 time units instead of 25 time units. Is that making sense? Yeah, is that making sense to you? Okay, good. Yeah.
We will consider like a small interconnect delay from xn to a, and maybe that's like the longest path.
Yeah, that is a good question. The question is, there will be interconnect delays, there will be clock delays, clock skew, flip flop, time itself for the flip flop, and then set up and hold time for the flip flop. I am just making ideal assumption, we set them all equal to 0. Ultimately those things will come back, but for now let us just assume those to be 0 in an ideal case. Okay, so if this filter had a transfer function h of z, which was a plus b z to power minus 1 plus c z to power minus 2 plus d z to power minus 3, what is the new transfer function after what I would say after introducing one stage pipelining? After introducing this one stage pipelining, what is the new transfer function? It is not this transfer function, but it is another transfer function. Well, let us write down the equation. So, the new, so let me say y1n after pipelining is a goes with one delay. So, a xn minus 1, b has 1, 2 delays, and c with 3 delays, and d with 4 delays. So, because I introduced one pipelining delay, so this so called y1n is really yn, but now delayed by one cycle, okay? Because if I substitute n by n minus 1, I get this equation, and that means the h1 is z, the new transfer function is z to power minus 1 h of z. So, you take the old transfer function, multiply by z to power minus 1, then you get the new transfer function h1. So, introducing one stage pipelining introduces what we would call a latency. So, this z to power minus 1 or yn minus 1, whether you look at that in time domain or in frequency domain, it introduces a latency of one clock cycle. So, that means we have a delay. So, that is what is this latency. So, here if you want to think about this pipeline, what we are doing really, we are introducing a delay here, a delay here, a delay here. So, by introducing 3 pipelining, so think about these as cut sets by introducing 3 pipelining cut sets. So this car here would have been finished at 10 o'clock, well actually at 11 o'clock, because without pipelining the whole length of this path would be 2 hours. So would have been finished at 11 o'clock, because the clock period or each cycle would be 2 hours. But nevertheless, in terms of cycle, with 3 cut sets, we delay this by 3 cycles. So instead of coming at this current cycle, it waits until 3 more cycles. So, so now suppose that I want to reduce this clock period. Of course, we understand how to reduce that to 20, but if I want to reduce that to 5 units, what could we do to reduce the clock period to 5 time units? Well, I can internally pipeline these multipliers. So, for example, if I take this A1, A2, these multiplication operations here, so think about in actual integrated circuit, think about, so we have these multiplication operations A, B, C and D. So think about there is some hardware, think about we place pipelining delays and internally pipeline this multiplier by 3 internal pipelines. So let's say that 20 time units that was for the multiply now is equally divided to 5 units each. So we are placing flip-flops or delays at these intermediate locations and also at the output of this. So now there is I'm just showing these cut sets, feed forward cut sets, but anywhere there is a signal propagating, there is a delay element everywhere here. If there were 20 or 30 signals going down, each of those 20 or 30 would have a delay. And so now in fact, what we have been able to do by pipelining the multiplication operation by 4 stages, so this is stage number 1, 2, 3, 4. Now each pipeline stage of the multiply is same as the adder. The adder takes 5 units of time. So now in fact the critical path now is 5 units of time instead of 25 units of time that we had in the beginning. So if I call this cut set stage 1, cut set 2, cut set 3, cut set 4. So by introducing 4 pipelining cut sets, this delay, there would be 4 cycles of latency, and the new transfer function here would be z to power minus 4 h of z, which means that the y, whatever y, y2n for example, would be yn minus 4. What does yn minus 4 mean? It's yn delayed by 4 cycles. Why is it delayed? Because I have introduced 4 pipelining stages. So the output is delayed by 4 stages. Exactly in a similar way, if you think about this whole thing was one multiplication and I divided that into equal times, not unequal, every part has same time. So now we have introduced a latency. So that's what pipelining does, it introduces a latency, but it reduces critical path. That means we can increase the clock speed, and that means I can sample the signal xn at 5 times higher speed compared to the original filter. So the original filter had critical path 25. After introducing these 4 pipelining stages, the critical path has been reduced to 5 units of time. So if I was able to sample this signal xn at time 0, t, 2t, 3t, etc. periodically, and the t would be at least 25, could be 100, could be 26, it doesn't matter, or just 25, but has to be at least 25. Now here, if I still sample this at 0t, 2t, 3t periodically, so that t could be just 5 units of time. So that means I can sample this, I can increase the sampling speed 5 times, I can increase the sampling speed of this by 5 times by introducing 4 internal pipelining stages. If I could equalize all the delays, then by introducing 10 pipelining stages, I can increase the sampling speed by 11 times. Okay. Any questions about that? So introducing 4 pipelining cut sets increases the sampling speed by factor of 5, reduces the critical path by factor of 5, introduces a latency of 4 clock cycles, which means the transfer function is multiplied by z to power minus 4 with the original transfer function. So let us talk about how these pipelines are processing samples. So let me say that well, let's say that xn so let's try to understand in a diagram like this. A diagram like this is called a schedule, and we can construct a schedule and see what is going on in these computations. So let's say that this is, let's say this is node number 1. Okay, this is node number 2. Output of this delay is node number 3. Output of this delay is node number 4. Okay, so let's say that the so that's node number. Maybe let's say the output is node number 5. Okay, so I have indicated 5 nodes. Okay, so if I start with clock cycle input node 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so in clock cycle 0, I input x0. So if I feed x0 to all these 4 different multiplication operations, in clock cycle 4, they would all be ready. Okay, so started clock cycle 0, output in feeds to this stage in clock cycle 1, this stage in clock cycle 2, this stage in clock cycle 3, and after the flip-flop, node number 1 will be available in clock cycle 4. So in clock cycle 4, I will have d times x0 at node number 1. Okay. Now node number 2, so that will become available at node number 2. So this input will go to the output in the next clock cycle. So that will be d times x0. Okay. And then so again clock cycle 4, here I had c times x0. was also available here. I didn't put the node number, but that's okay. And in so this was available in clock cycle 4. So in clock cycle, what do you think we are computing? Okay, I should be, yeah, I should be giving some more node numbers, but that's okay. So what do you think is being computed here in clock? So as soon as I find d times x0 in this clock cycle 5, what is this adder computing? I know I skipped, so think about this. Let's say that this was 1 prime, okay, this was 1 prime, node 1 prime. So node 1 prime would have had c times x0, but in clock cycle 5, that has just completed c times x1. So, okay, so in clock cycle 5, we complete d times x1, clock cycle. So x1 was input in clock cycle 1, x2 is input in clock cycle 2. So this is d times x2 and so on. So okay. So at this node 2, okay, so d times x1 and then d times x2, d times x3. So x3 was input in clock cycle 3. After 4 cycles, we are computing that. But here is the thing, try to recall that any time we have completed d times x0, I didn't put these node numbers, but this has completed c times x0, this has completed b times x0, this has completed a times x0. If I placed node numbers in these locations, these would have exactly computed. When this has completed d times x0, we have completed c times x0, c times b times a times. Okay. So now in clock cycle 5, this has completed d times x1. So from that reference, this has completed c times x1. So we are now, this add operation here is adding dx0 plus cx1, and that sum goes to the node 3 output in the next cycle. So in the next cycle, we accumulate d times x0 plus c times x1. In the next cycle, in node 4, okay, so at this cycle, this has b times x2, so that adds this adder adds plus b times x2 and feeds to the output of the delay. So here we have d times x0 plus c times x1 plus b times x2, and then the in clock cycle 8, this has completed d times x4 by, okay, no, I should say. So then the output node 5 then completes d times x0 plus c times x1 plus b times x2 plus a times x3. So at that time, that completed a times x3. Okay, so now in fact, we have just completed y3 at clock cycle 7, and this schedule will repeat periodically. So y4 would be available here, y5 would be available here, and so on. So exactly like the pipelining case, think about what is going on. So while in clock cycle 7, while we are completing output y3, okay, then this node here is computing part of y4, this is computing part of y5, this is computing part of y6, y6. Okay, so that's really what you have to think about. So at every one of these nodes, if I fill this up, 4 different outputs are being computed partly exactly as in the pipelining example of the assembly line that I just described. 4 different cars were being manufactured at different times in exactly same way. So now the car number 8, 9, 10, 11. So if you think about while Y3 is going on, this is completing part of Y4, Y5, Y6, and we are beginning Y7. Okay. Is that making sense? So I am beginning Y7 while going through at this node multiplying by C for Y6, multiplying by B for Y. Okay, so this is Y3. So we are multiplying A for Y3 here. That's really what we are multiplying and adding. Here we are multiplying B for Y4. Here we are multiplying C for Y5. And here we are multiplying D for Y6. And we are beginning Y7. So this is really part of Y7. Okay, so pipelining introduces overlap of many different computations, sometimes called interleaving. So you can think about as if by having 4 different pipelining cut sets, 5 different outputs are being interleaved in the data path. So 4 cut sets means if you think about whatever was going on here, another output, the previous output is computed here, 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 and here. Okay, so many different outputs are being computed in the same data path in an overlapped or interleaved manner. Okay, what is interleaving? Interleaving is the simple concept of, so let's say that I want to say I have a data path here, and then I want to compute these operations A, B, C. Okay, then so that's called parallel computing. So we have 3 parallel machines, and this is operating on 3 different data paths. So let's say A is a time series. Okay, so we have A0, A1, A2, etc. B0, B1, B2, etc. All processed periodically, exactly in a signal processing system. Now interleaving means I now take all these 3, instead of 3 data path, I have 1 data path. So I feed A0, B0, C0, we are done. Sample number 0, interleave A, B, C, sample number 0. Then interleave A, B, C, sample number 1, and then 2. So this is interleaving by factor 3, which means 3 different computations are fed into the same data path in a interleaved manner. So I will get to that because that's one of the topics that I do want to get to. Again, as I have said before, my intent is really not to get into a lot of details because each one of these we could spend a week on each one of these, and which we will do next semester. But right now I just want to illustrate the basic ideas and what they mean. So, so what I have just described is really called slowdown or interleaving. Okay, so let's take let me just spend a little time on talking about this before I get to the retiming part. So let's say that I had the same FIR filter. So I had a signal xn that was computing h of z, which is a plus b z to power minus 1 plus c z to power minus 2 plus d z to power minus 3, and it was computing yn. Okay. So the same FIR filter, 4 taps, 4 different taps, A, B, C, D, and we are computing output y. So, so I take the same data path. So the data path here is basically, if I take the transpose form, same thing here. So I take D, multiply by D, del A, multiply by C, add, del A, multiply by B, add, del A, multiply by A, and add, that's yn. Now here is the thing. So I have this, so this is our data path. Now I want to interleave 3 different filtering operations. So in communication systems, whenever you deal with a quadrature amplitude modulation or any other modulation schemes, typically we would have an in phase component and a quadrature phase component. And so most of the times we would not implement the in phase and quadrature phase filter in 2 different data paths. We would interleave them to the same data path. So that's one example of interleaving in hardware. So what I want to say now, so I have that same same data path. No, so only 4 multipliers in hardware, 3 adders in hardware. But I want to interleave 3 different time series. So let's say that I have the same data path, but the input now I have, let's say x0, 0, x. So I am now filtering. So I am now filtering x0n, x1n, x2n, 3 different time series. Okay, so that's probably not a good diagram. So okay, let's draw a better diagram. So I have 3 time series coming, x0n, x1n, and x2n, and then you interleave them. That can something that switches in a way that we have a parallel to serial converter. So this is a parallel to serial converter. Okay, which is, you can think of that as a 3 to 1 multiplexer. You can think of that as a MUX. Okay, so that's a 3 to 1 multiplexer. So you sample these, you have a 2-bit control signal, you sample these, and then we get x0, 0, x1, 0, x2, 0. So we sample sample number 0, then 0, 0, come back. So if you want to think about 3 phases of the clock, you can have 0, 1, 2, then 3, 4, 5. So I can call this as if this is 3 times L, 3 times L plus 1, 3 times L plus 2. So if I have a clock here, that's 3 times, when the clock cycle number is multiple of 3, the switch connects here, then multiple of 3 plus 1 and 2, and then at that point we then take sample number 1 of x0, sample number 1 of x1, sample number 1 of x2, then after, so this is clock cycle 0, clock cycle 3, clock cycle 6, I take sample number 2 and continues, that process continues. So now how can I, it's non-trivial, but how can I use the same hardware circuit that I have here? What changes can I do to this data path so that it will correctly compute the filtering operation operating on 3 different time series? Any volunteers from people who have not taken the other class? Okay, let's start with a simpler question. So let me start with a simpler question. So let's say that I have the same data path. So I have xn that goes through that data path h of z, and we are computing yn. Okay. So now I want to So let's say I have xn and then I expand this by factor 3. What does that do? So if this sequence was x0, x1, x2, it inserts 2 zeros, expand by factor 3, x0, 0, 0, x1, 0, 0, x2, 0, 0, and so on. Now what should be here so that I can reconstruct yn? Computation of yn is not lost. Okay. So that's really what I'm asking. If this xn has a z transform xz, expanded sequence has a z transform x z cube. Why? Because this is x0 plus 0 times z to power minus 1 plus 0 times z to power minus 2 plus x1 z to power minus 3 plus x2 z to power minus 6. So wherever in this z transform, replace z by z cube, and that's what is here. Okay. Y of z is equal to xz times hz. Now here is the thing. If I change this to xz cube and I don't want to lose my computation, then I must at same time replace this z by z cube as well, so that I now have xz cube hz cube, okay, and then I could then downsample by factor 3 and then get rid of these alternate samples. So if you still don't believe me, let's take an example here. So yn was a times xn plus b times xn minus 1 plus c times xn minus 2 plus d times xn minus 3. Okay. Now this h of z cube, the transfer function is a plus bz to power minus 3, because I have replaced z by z cube, plus cz to power minus 6 plus dz to power minus 9. Okay, anywhere there was a z replaced by z cube. So that's the new transfer function. So think about what exactly are we computing. So think about this. So in terms of z transform, let's call this y1z. So let's call this y1n. So y1z, and so I can quickly see that y1z is equal to x0 plus x1 z to power minus 3 plus x2 z to power minus 6, etc., multiplied by a plus bz to power minus 3 plus cz to power minus 6 plus dz to power minus 9. Okay, so that's y1z. Okay, what would really y1n be? So y1n would be the inverse z transform, and what do you think? So let's just multiply. Let's just multiply few terms and see what we have here. So I have a times x0 plus b times x0 plus how many z to power minus 3? B times that plus a times that. How many z to power minus 6? So that would be x0 times c plus x1 times b plus a times x2. Okay, that's probably it. We are still so-called filling the initial part. So now we will have the complete part. Okay, so now we have how many z to power minus 9? So x0 times d plus x1 times c plus x2 times b plus a times x3 z to power minus 9. And the next term is going to be how many z to power minus 12 will be d times x1 plus c times x2 plus b times x3 plus a times x4. Okay. So that basically says, if you think about y1 z is y1 0 plus y1 3 times that plus y1 6 plus y1 9. So this really is y1 9 and this is y1 12. What happened to 10 and 11? Those are zeros. So that at least tells you that the output y will have 3 zeros, as you can see here. 9th output, 10 and 11 are zeros, 12th output, 13, 14 zeros, and at steady state. So by the way, does this computation correspond to something in the real output that we want? So if I substitute n is equal to 4, if I substitute n is 4, a times x4 plus b times x3, c times x2, d times x1. So this quantity here, what I have called y112, is really y4. So essentially what we would get here is y0 0 0, y1 0 0, y2 0 0, y3 0 0, etc. Okay. Now if I take this expanded sequence with zeros here and do not change this z to z cube, I have changed the computation. We are not able to maintain the integrity of the output, which is what I am trying to compute. I am trying to compute this quantity here. So somehow to be able to obtain yn from this data path, this y1n then can be downsampled by factor 3, throw out the zeros, then get back y. So we can get back y from y1. And you can say, well, why would one be stupid to have these intermediate zeros, and these are null operations, we are not computing anything useful. Definitely, yes, indeed, definitely one is stupid to be able to do that. And I mean, this is kind of a precursor to show you that these zeros sitting here are not real zeros, but are replaced by the time series of two other time series. So I am just showing you as an example these zeros, but this zero here is really the sample number 1 of another time series. This zero is sample number 1 of another time series. So this is kind of a prelude to this interleaved data path. So in any event, so the so-called interleaving means expand the sequence by factor m, for example, my interleaving, and replace each delay by 3 delays here. That's what replacing z by z cube means. Replace z to power minus 1 by z to power minus 3. So in that case, then I can take this data path that I had here. That's our original data path. So to compute x n, so if I have x n, and then we insert 3 zeros, and then I feed that to this data path d, c, b, a. Now here is the thing, I must replace each delay by 3 delays, and then I get y1n. If I still keep one delay, that's not computing what I wanted to compute in the first place. as I have been trying to explain to you, to be able to compute what I want to compute, if x is expanded, the h must be expanded also. What does it really mean to say that h is expanded also? What does that really mean? So to say that h is expanded, so hz cube, which is same thing as h expanded by factor 3, becomes a plus bz to power minus 3 plus cz to power minus 6 plus dz to power minus 9. And that means if I plot the unit sample response, so that will be A 0 0, B, so this is 0 1 2, this is n, this is well, I can call this h1n. A, B, 0 0, C, 0 0, D. And that's really what the unit sample response is. A plus B delta n minus 3 plus C delta n minus 6 plus D delta n minus 9. And that means if you think about why these are 3 delays, that simply means that you think about, take this, multiply by 0, add one more delay, multiply by 0, add another delay. Multiplying by 0 are useless operations, we throw them out, and that's how we get 3 delays. That's another way of thinking the same thing. So I'm trying to describe the same very simple idea in many different ways to see that if we expand the input and interleave this, then the filter has to be interleaved as well. And that means in the data path, each flip-flop now becomes 3 flip-flops, 3 delays. And then we can downsample. So the intent is not to downsample, or the intent is not really to expand. The intent here is to interleave 3 different computations, as I've been trying to say, that if I have 3 different time series and we want to feed them. So the first question that I had posed is, if I have 3 different time series and I want to, instead of using 3 different data paths, so if you think about this as 3 different filters operating on the time series, now these are all interleaved in the same data path. So that means this has to be, these were all hz, these have to be hz cube, and then the 3 different data paths. So I have to replace this delay by 3 delays, this delay by 3 delays, this delay by 3 delays, and I'm done. There's nothing more I have to do. Take the original data path, replace each delay by 3 delays. That allows the same filter to compute 3 different filtering operations in an interleaved manner. Is that making sense? We will talk more about this, but I can say that one thing that I can say is, if you take x0 0, x1 0, x2 0, so now we don't have this expander here. We now are using a parallel to serial converter, and we are taking 3 different time series and interleaving them to get something like this. And then if you think about this is clock 0, and this, so if we are, clock period is t, and then the clock 3 would be 3t, 4t, 5t, this would be 6t. So if you think about what is now the sampling period of x0n, I process sample number 0 at 0, sample number 1 at 3t, sample number 2 at 6t. So that means sampling period of xin, so I can be 0 1 2, is now 3t. So in the original data path, we were processing the signal samples periodically with period t. After I interleave by factor 3, the new data path here is now processing this interleaved series, these 3 different interleaved computations, where each time series is really sampled at period 3t, and that's called a slowdown. That means I've slowed down. Although I've been able to accomplish using the same data path for 3 different filtering operations. Each of the filtering operations has been slowed down by factor t. x01 sampled with sample period 3t. x1n sampled with sample period 3t. x2n sampled with period 3t. So, if you take x10, first sample number 0 sampled at t, sample number 1 4t, sample number 1 of x1, sample number 2 of x1 7t. So, I am sampling each of these 3 signals now with period 3t instead of t. So, basically we have learned that if you take this data path that was filtering one time series, and if I want to have 5 different time series, then I sample each of the time series with 5t sample period, interleave all 5 of them, and replace each delay here by 5 delays. And that intuitively makes sense, because if each filter had these 3 states, if you go back to the concept of state variables, and state variable is remembering something, these are all difference equations. So, if I have 5 different computations, then there must be 15 different initial conditions and 15 different states. So, the 3 different states have to be multiplied by 5. So, then we have 15 different states that can be initialized to 15 different initial conditions if these were all not 0. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, we may talk some more, but so slow down and interleaving. I mean, slow down and interleaving means that slow down the sampling period of m different time series, interleave them, take the same data path, replace each delay by m delays. That's called m slow system. That's called m slow system, sometimes called m way interleaving. So that's really that's called m slow, each delay replaced by m delays. This is also called m way interleaving, which means that m different time series are being computed in an interleaved manner. Okay. So, let me just I could stop here, but let me just say that let us just see what is going on in a simple 2-tap filter. Let us just say that I had A times xn, this is a direct form, A times xn plus B times xn minus 1, yn is axn plus bxn minus 1. Now, if I have a 2-way interleaving or 2 slow, so now I have the same system. I have replaced each delay by 2 delays, and we have A and B. Okay, so now this is taking input x1 0, x2 0, then x1 1, x2 1, then x1 2, x2 2, etc. Okay, let's just see if this is really computing. Let's call this node number input. This is node number 1, node number 2, and node number 3. Let's say 3 nodes, and see what we are computing here. Okay. So, clock period 0 we feed x1 0, clock period 1 we feed x2 0, clock period 2 we feed x1 1, clock period 3 x2 1, 4 x1 2, 5 x2 2. Okay. So, if I feed x1 0, then in node 1 So this moves to node 1. So x1 0 will be here, x2 0 will be available at node 1. Input is the output of the delay is input from previous cycle. Okay, what's node 2? Node 2 is a delayed version of node 1. Okay, so what is node 3 computing? Node 3 is computing input times A plus node 2 times B. That's node 3. Input times A plus node 2 times B. So for example, here in clock cycle 3, input times A times x2 1 plus node 2 times B times x2 0. Okay. And next cycle A times x1 2 plus B times x1 1. Next cycle A times x2 2 plus B times x2 1. And what about before? Here A times x1 1 plus B times x1 0. Okay. And what is exactly this quantity? So remember that we can say that yn is A times xn. I can call y1n is A times x1n plus B times x1n minus 1. So this is y1 of 1. This is y2 of 1. This is y1 of 2, y2 of 2. So now you can see that the sample number 1 of y1 is available, then sample number 1 of y2. Then, so this must have been sample number 2, 0, and this must have been sample number 1, 0, y1, 0. So y1, 0 followed by y2, y1, 1 followed by y2, y1, 2. So now you can see that, and you can check for yourself if you don't have these two delays, we are computing different equation. We are no longer computing this equation. So for two-way interleaving, have two different time series interleaved at the input, replace each delay by two delays, and at the output, we are now obtaining two different outputs in an interleaved manner. And then I can go through a serial to parallel converter to generate two independent bit streams, two independent signals from here. Any questions about these concepts that I've talked about? Iteration bound, which is the lower bound on the clock period or the iteration period. We have talked about loop bounds. So if you have 10,000 loops, the maximum of all of those 10,000 loop bounds will be the iteration bound. Iteration bound is fundamental to the algorithm. It does not depend on how many computers you have available. And then we talked about, let's see, we talked about iteration bound, we talked about pipelining. Pipelining by 10 stages means you introduce latency of 10 cycles. But if assuming pipeline depths are equal, we can then reduce the clock period by factor of 10. So pipelining increases latency but reduces clock period, so that allows us to sample the signals faster. And we talked about interleaving, where the goal is not necessarily to sample signals faster, but to process the same data path of the hardware filter to filter different time series. And as an example, we talked about the quadrature amplitude modulation system, where we might take the same data path and filter the in phase component and the quadrature phase component. Okay, so next class I will talk briefly about retiming. I have posted the next homework and it is not due. It is really probably not going to help you in the exam, but if you can't really sleep and unless you understand more, then try those things. You may want to try them at some point when you have more time, like the spring break, for example. But anyway, so I posted that. You don't have to turn anything in. No homework really to be turned in. And this is your break for the exam to come.
So when you say sometimes you try to introduce like 3D layer, 2D layer, can you actually make a 3D layer one clock cycle? Because there's 3 clock cycles, right? And you say like you put 3D, that's like 3D layer.
So yeah, no, I mean the flip-flops are breaking the propagation of the computation, right?
Yep.
So whatever